2024 Park Board meeting to order, please. Ms. Lewis, will you call roll call, please?
Steve Lewis.
Yes.
Matthew Armbruster.
Yes.
Dave Pierce.
Yes.
Danielle Woodward. Julie Kaufman.
Yes.
Steve West.
Here.
Doris Roberts.
Here.
And I am here.
Thank you. With that, the meeting called to order, I would ask if there are any comments from citizens, which would be, I mean, you can have comments if you want, but if you have a presentation, as with Midway, the comments are maybe more for just someone that has a particular question. If there is none, we'll move forward. Reports and presentations. Goldman Park update, so there's a lot going on over there, but we have guests here. Thank you very much, Midway. I'm guessing you might have a few things you want to fill us in on, possibly, or we'll take questions, or...
Just kind of want to update
Thank you.
on our priorities and what's happening with the park and how all that's going. We're kicking into our 4th year here coming up. We're getting ready for that. We had 370 kids last year. We hope to increase that this year, and I'm certain we will, because we're picking up, we picked up girls softball last year. We only have 1 team. We anticipate that growing this year. In addition, we have the Challenger League that plays up there. That board is folding, and they approached us and asked us if we would be, they said they liked the way they see things happening at Goldman Park, what we're doing. They asked us if we would help with that. We're talking with Baraka Church on that because they have a ministry that addresses kind of specifically the handicapped. They do a one special night kind of thing, and something else. I forget what the other one is, but they have some programs in place and have a really nice foothold in that community, and we just thought that would be a good match if they matched up with us and worked with us on that. So we're in a process of the 3 of us, Baraka, Midway, and the Challenger League board, all discussing how that goes for next year. So we anticipate that being there. We talked with the city sometime back, and the building up there needs some work, and we've got a commitment from the city that that's going to happen. I think the problem, if I understand right, is contractors finding contractors.
Yeah, right. So working on a couple fronts. One, I'm pretty sure Charlie was getting quotes on the roof, at least to get that done more immediately. But then we had to revisit a quote on the rest of the work because the one quote we received wasn't prevailing wage rates, and the contractor didn't really want to deal with prevailing wage, quite frankly, even though I'm still kind of trying to work on it. But so we're still intending to do those improvements. It's just been a delay a bit.
And those improvements are basically on the building,
Right.
the city-owned building and the garage in the back there area that need some work. What we wanted to touch on today is kind of update you on our priorities for the park itself. The number 1 priority that we have is trying to get those fields leveled out, make them a little safer and a little nicer. As they exist now, like we said, we have opportunities been offered to us to host tournaments in Little League, and we're just not there. Those fields aren't ready for that. There's no way we can host a tournament, have teams come in and play on a field that drops off, a foot or 2 down. I'm in discussions with a company now out of Cincinnati to get a price on what it would cost to get those leveled. So I talked to him on the way here, and and he seems to think that later this week he'll have a number. I was hoping to have it tonight. I apologize, I do not have that, but just to give you an idea on what that figure would be if they did that. hope to be able to send that in, this week still. to
Is
get-
that for all the fields?
Say how many fields?
That is to level all of them.
Oh, okay.
Yes. I know, when I say that now, I do know that they had somebody up there shooting the levels on 3 of them. We had somebody up there shooting the levels on 3 of them, and only got the 3 done, and we're gonna get the other 3. But I don't know if we got that stuff yet either, so. There's a couple of missing pieces there yet, but, we certainly will get that.
So is that a matter of bringing topsoil in, stripping off the grass, and then laying the,
I don't know if it's gonna be
Topsoil down.
building up or cutting down, you
Okay.
know?
okay.
It's,
Probably
that's
some
not
of
my
both.
bailiwick, you may know
Probably some
that.
of both.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you would definitely, there'd be some turf restoration.
And the sad part is we're almost getting too late to do that, to be playable for next year, because,
Yep.
you know, we've gotta have field space for next year to get this done, and this is kinda getting late to get grass replanted if we go and do it and have it ready for the season next year.
When does your season start officially next year?
We've always been starting April first,
April 1st.
but we're talking about maybe starting a week or 2 early, so mid-March at the earliest,
Cold.
weather permitting.
Is there catch basins there?
No,
No drainage or catch basins?
not that I'm aware of. Is there? There
There
was,
is,
is there?
there was some kind of drain out in field 1, out in the outfield. I don't know what that drain goes to. There was something out in the outfield though. Like I said, I don't know what,
Yeah, I'm not sure.
yeah.
Do you expect the project to include some type of infrastructure like that, or is that just leveling off the fields, or is it really a place
Part
where
of,
you take the water?
part of what we're gonna talk about a little bit is, the next thing is we're looking at getting water on those fields, or to those fields. Because there's no way to even water those fields. The only water that's back there, you've got a fire hydrant back there and a drinking fountain, that doesn't work great. And you got a hose access up at the front building.
Got a water wheel waiting on you.
Yeah.
You got one of those big water wheels you
Do
can
ya?
use. Yeah.
But,
It's in the sockers, it's in the barn back, big brown barn back here you use.
you'd have to get water to every field, you know, if you plant grass, you gotta have some water on it. And, so that was another item on the priority list, is getting water out there. And the other thing is getting water, the drinking fountain is like 90 years old. It's out there, I mean, it really is. To get an updated drinking fountain where kids could fill their bottles, the kind that, you know, you kick your bottle in there and refill, right there, so. And it would be nice to have more than one, get one down towards, if you got it, one down towards the group of 4 fields anyway, somewhere, that those fields could feed off that, and the other 2 could feed off the location of the current one, would be great. The next priority is fencing, getting fencing fixed, all the holes, the poles that are broken. You know, we've come a long way. The Diamonds 1 and 2 that we worked on last year with the Home Depot project, that was, they look a lot better, but there's still fencing and holes even in those fields that did not get fixed yet. We'd like to come up with a way to get those repaired and made, not only attractive but safe for the kids. They've been let go a while. Next, we did 2 dugouts with Home Depot, or actually we did 4 dugouts, 2 fields, 4 dugouts. We've got 4 fields left. Really 5, because there's that tiny field, I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about, there's a little tiny field up there that's grass. We have 4-year-olds signing up to play T-ball, and a 4-year-old playing with a 5 and a 6-year-old kinda is too young, so we're talking about this year, taking 4-year-olds and putting them on that small field with maybe wiffle ball, just to start to introduce them to it and have fun with it.
Is that the 6th field?
Yeah, that's the 7th field, actually.
That's what I'm asking.
Yes,
7
that's
total
the
fields.
7th field. I mean, it's a little bitty thing,
Doesn't matter.
anyway, we need the dugouts on those back 5 fields. Those all need to be done. Now, Home Depot has contacted one of our board members here, who happens to work at Home Depot, about potentially doing another project, even yet this fall. We haven't got there yet. I'm thinking it's getting a little late for that, maybe next year, but we're certainly gonna try and work with them to get that done next year, at least a couple more fields taken care of, with the dugouts and so forth, with the help of Home Depot and their charity. They eat all the wood, the shingles, the whole 9 yards, and we bring in help. They bring their team, but we bring help. And it worked very well. I think we had about 100 people out there.
Yeah, that was the neat thing about that for our Team Depot event. That's the biggest one in community or anything we've ever done is come in to help out. So the city of Middletown, the community really showed up for us there, so.
Awesome.
Love it.
So we're gonna do that again next year, either again this year or before next ball season starts. But those dugouts absolutely need to be fixed, so the kids have a way of getting out of the sun and the weather. Electric, we have no electric down to the fields. I think that's part of what was included in that bid, Scott, if I'm not mistaken. In fact, I know it was included in it, but I don't know if that's what was agreed upon, to run electric to the back building back there, between Diamonds 1 and 2, the shed.
Here?
Yeah. I heard that you'd hit the trench all the way back, is what I think. I think my Duke contact, who I talked to when I tried to check and see if there was anything, said that there was nothing close, that they probably would have to trench back was the only way, unless you know something that he didn't.
You're saying they would plug into the main building and trench?
Yeah, the one thing I don't understand, Scott, that building back there has receptacles and lights in there. So it appears as though there was electric there at some point in time, or was built for it, Now, where it is, or how it was run, or why it's not there any longer, I can't answer that.
There's no panel anywhere, or
There's a panel in there, but
nothing?
nothing.
Yeah. That's wild.
The electrician will be able to figure that out.
Well, the electrician, Griggs was out there, I think, is who came out. And I think Griggs said the only way to get electric back there is to trench from the front building back. And he said that was around $10,000.
And there are electric scoreboards on those 2 fields
Yeah,
with electric hookup behind the home plate for people to hook in and actually keep score
Look
electrically.
into what?
Into something that goes out to the scoreboard out in the outfield.
Hmm.
Because if the scoreboards are out in the outfield, then you can hook up a piece of equipment to do balls and strikes and runs and all that kind of stuff.
Those are
I
so
was
old.
struggling to find, I couldn't find any drawings
Yeah,
on Goldman hardly.
Most of that stuff's
So
done
at some point-
wirelessly today.
well, that's
Yeah.
true, that, yeah.
It's probably 30 years old.
Okay.
It,
Yeah.
it's.
Yeah, you're right, wireless is better, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
Well, but you'd still need electric
Yeah,
somewhere.
yeah.
So to
Okay.
build the trench, you're saying it was quoted approximately 10,000?
That's, I think the price that Griggs gave is $10,000 to trench back there to get electric. And, you know, then as we move forward, you know, of course, we all have our dreams and, you know, we'd like to see all our, if we're gonna play at Goldman Park and that's gonna be our home, you know, we'd like to keep everybody there. And like I told you earlier, our older kids need 90-foot bases. 90-foot bases, our biggest field is on Diamond 1, which is at the top of the screen up there. And we cannot get 90-foot bases on that field. They're into the grass to get that. And left field is rather short. So we could cut back or have them cut back the grass on the outfield to give us the room to do that, but that still doesn't help the fence being as short as it is there. So the only other option would be to go up, because there's not room to go out in left field. Roosevelt is too close, and we wouldn't want balls flying out there hitting cars. But, you know, we've talked, and I think I might have mentioned it when we were down in the council chambers, about maybe potentially getting with Cliffs and talking to them about partnering, maybe kind of building the old green wall, you know, the green monster like it at Fenway there, you know? Something like that where you could go up and they could do some advertising there, or the city could do some advertising on that and, you know, kind of make this park a place to start to come and make it look, you know, those kinds of things attract people and make people want to come to play on that field, you know? That helps with hosting tournaments and bringing people in to play. So we'd like to maybe see that happen as well. And then as you look at well, let me, before I do that, the parking lot back there, Scott, is that back parking lot ever gonna get paved? Is that in the works, or is that, I know the front parking lot you got done.
Right.
This one and the other one.
And this one
They
now?
look nice. That one's
That's-
finished.
That's finished too.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a matter of money and time.
Well,
Like everything else. But
well,
yeah,
you
I
guys
mean,
got it
yeah, I
all,
mean-
you know? No, you know, part of the problem we have, you know, when we have teams playing on every field, parking's an issue. And part of the reason for that is there's no lines back there, so the
Right.
first 20 people that come and park set the pattern for everybody else, or use the space as they like. If that thing could get lined, I think that would go a long way to help us to, you know, maximize the parking that we do have. I don't think it would cure the problem necessarily, but it would certainly go a long way to help it.
So keep in mind.
Scott, what do you think that size would run?
I'm trying to think what we spent on, we just paved this, right?
Yes, you did.
I have 10,000 in my mind for the asphalt for that, so times 4 or 5,
Yeah.
but don't quote me on it. We can find out closer
Yeah.
pretty easily. I just, for some reason, I wanna say we spent like 10,000 on asphalt for this, but I need to go back and look for sure, so.
I think the question is that space, if lined, does that area, if lined, create enough spaces for you at peak demand?
I don't think we have necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
I think we could make do with
I
the
think we
parking
can
if
make
it
do,
was
I think the
lined.
issue is the end of the first game and the beginning of the second game. Because people are showing up for the
Right.
second game before the first
People
people
have
leave.
left, sure.
That's when it becomes a problem.
Yeah.
After they leave, I think it's not as big a deal. That's the biggest issue.
That's a good point.
Is there a way at the other end, and this is not my cup of tea, but at the other end, closer to Roosevelt, is there a way to make an exit out so it's easier, like in one way, out the other?
Maybe the fire
Well-
station.
That's something I was gonna talk
Exactly.
about
Yes.
Yeah,
here
I understand.
next,
Yeah,
is
that's-
just,
Yeah.
you know, the fire station is here, and we all know that's gone,
Mhm.
Well-
soon,
True.
isn't it?
Maybe.
Mm.
Well,
let's hear it.
it's not gonna be a fire station
Okay.
anymore, but I don't know if the building's going away.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's not gonna be a fire station.
Correct.
It's a new
Okay.
Parks and Recreation
But-
building. Teasing.
I like that idea.
In this area here is, now, our property line is where, Scott, do you know? Does it come down to here?
Yeah, I think so.
I think it comes through the woods.
That is a lot of area.
But this area here could be a
Another-
useful area.
A new
And, you know, you're talking pipe dreams, and everybody's gotta be, you gotta look ahead here, and if we're gonna stay here and grow here and want people to come, you know, building an entrance into the back here through this way may make some sense and add some parking back through here, and maybe even have the ability to put another field out here somehow that would be beneficial to everybody, but the parking would have to go in there. You know, part of this, you gotta think about the safety of it, you know, bringing people in from out of town. People come in and see where the park's located, they're gonna be trying to turn left here, and there's no left turn.
Yeah.
So that creates one issue, you know, and from back in my days on the police department, you know, when we put out red light cameras, we looked at all the accident data, and the accidents you're looking at are the turning accidents, you know, the T-bone accidents, and these intersections are prime for that. So, you know, if they were making the flip or coming around this way into here, it would just make the whole area, I think, safer for everybody if you could do some access like that. Like I said, I don't know what's going there. I know the fire department's going
Right.
somewhere
The issue
else.
with that lane right there, so
Oh,
technically,
boy.
Cliffs owns about 2/3 of this driveway, so technically, if Cliffs ever wanted to, you couldn't even get a minivan through there.
Really?
So that's something, I mean, we'll definitely talk to Cliffs about, especially
Right.
for that building, but the property line is almost up to the existing headquarters. It's wild, so.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
So, but just, those are kind of, you know, the first 4 or 5 things, kind of our priorities. The second are kind of our dreams and where we see the vision for this and trying to move forward over time. We appreciate all the help we've gotten from the city and the support of this board. And like I said, we've worked hard to keep that park, make that park better. And I think anybody that's seen that park sees a definite improvement in that over the past years. And especially with all the kids in there that are playing ball and in there, it's good looking, so. Is that the property line there?
Yeah, the yellow.
Why doesn't it go over to include the fire department? Oh, I see, there it is.
So their parking encroaches on Cliff's property a
Mhm.
little bit.
And then,
So we do hit that tree line there, huh?
Mhm.
Yeah. Most of it.
so what does the darker yellow represent?
This,
Yes.
that's a storm sewer. This is a utility map, so.
Oh. Okay.
It's underground.
I got that.
Big one, 42-inch diameter.
That is a big one. So there is drainage to tap into. What's it?
Yeah,
grade?
eliminating those woods over there
Sanitary
would probably be a
Sanitary
benefit
sewer.
too. It would, get rid of some nuisance,
Yeah.
Mhm.
problems that we,
Campers.
yeah,
Dumping right next to the no dumping sign.
yeah.
They need a-
Or at least get rid of everything but
So-
the trees,
Yeah.
some of the trees for now.
So Greg, you bring up a really good point about ingress and egress here, since he can't make a left-hand turn onto Highland.
That is an issue.
It is, when you think about 370 now
Yeah.
players, and you start holding tournaments, and you're expecting people to, I don't know how you expect them to get in now. What would be the plan to bring them into there? How do your parents come now? I mean, your locals probably come across Highland because they know
They do.
to do that, right? But the out-of-town people are gonna see that park and Google it, they're gonna come right down Roosevelt.
Can that be changed?
What-
What?
You don't want that.
That's.
That left,
Going
That
down that
left
hill.
turn there is,
That little hill,
that's a
that's-
dangerous
Not-
left turn.
Not easily.
Especially
Yeah.
with big trucks coming in.
and if you get them backed up there, that's an issue with the hill.
Yeah.
You get people jammed in the back, because they'll be bleeding over into the other lane.
But they need to turn on, what's the road before that? It's not Jackson, it's,
Orchard is the main.
Orchard.
Yeah.
they'd have to turn at Orchard.
Well, you can turn it, what is the other one there, Scott?
Carolina, but that doesn't go through, yes.
Yeah, that does. You can turn here, there's a turn lane here and come down too. Can go down to Goldman, yes, you
I
can.
think Brentwood.
Did
No, it's
they-
Brentwood.
Is
Maybe
it
the next one
Brentwood?
over.
Right, it's this
Hold
one.
on.
To the right.
No, that's
Yeah,
not.
to the
Brentwood,
right.
that's-
It's right here.
Oh, there it is, yeah, there's a turn lane, I'm sorry. To Brentwood and come down
Or Orchard,
to,
at the
uh,
stoplight.
Goldman.
Right.
and then over to Highland.
I mean, it's not ideal.
No,
Coming through
it's
an
not.
neighborhood is not ideal for
No.
that.
It would be better if you turned at the light.
Well, but,
At Orchard, I mean, I don't know whether they, you can always put out information,
yeah,
you get that far, but.
out of town people, we would give directions, we'd have to,
Instructions, yeah.
if we got to that point, but just
Wouldn't it be
growing
nice
and seeing that.
Yeah.
Go down to Armstrong
Google-
Turn.
Google
Yeah.
Cliffs.
Yeah, I know, boom, boom, there it is.
That would be wonderful.
Even though it says no left turn, it's not on Google.
Hmm.
Well, it seems to me that all that's something to be thinking about for the future and to be working with Cliffs, you know, about what they would be willing to help with on all of that and perhaps, you know, there's a lot of things they could help with. That's really sits right in front of their,
Does-
you know, their showpiece
Yeah.
facility.
I just noticed the,
You know, maybe they would be willing to work with us on that. Especially if you could put another Diamondback in there that would be bigger.
Yeah, and the one thing I haven't touched on, and Scott, I'm relying on you, that bid that came in on that building, the restrooms that are in, I mean, we put new commodes in those, what, a couple years now ago?
same.
But those restrooms really need to be updated, and, you know, I mean, that's, if this is gonna be a city park, it should have a decent restroom in there for the families to go into, and not so much of a picnic kinda, you know, restroom, or like kinda thing, you know? I would like to see that, get to the point that it's, you know, we've got 7 baseball fields there, we should have more than 4 lets around, and nice bathrooms. I think Smith Park's got pretty nice bathrooms over here now. I'd like to see that kinda over here for our families as well, so.
Any questions for Midway?
And before you go there,
Mhm.
Ron, you got anything? I mean, I know I covered a lot of area, Ron and Brian and Jordan. This is the heart of our board here. Ron does most of it. I have the title of president, but he's the brains of the operation.
Stop.
And does all the work, so.
Stop.
I just run these meetings. I'll be the first to admit, I tried to give him the title and you won't take it. But
For a reason.
When will you know if Home Depot's gonna partner again on the other, dugouts?
As soon as Greg gets a hold of
Larry,
my boss.
yeah,
So.
I'll know this week.
Okay.
Not, what is today? Is he there?
Yeah,
I think
I'll
the
call him
answer,
tomorrow.
I think the question is not so much, are they going to partner with us, it's when
When.
are we gonna do it?
yeah.
We're gonna do
I
it.
think they're
That's
going
my
to.
next
Okay.
We're gonna do it.
We're gonna do it. with
We'd like to,
Home Depot.
my boss would like to get in there as soon as possible.
Okay, that was my next question, was when, okay.
As long as it's not freezing outside, he thinks there's a possibility we could get it done
Really?
before the new year.
Okay,
Okay.
awesome.
Well, that sounds like something that maybe can be taken off the table for us, if Home Depot's been willing to
Mhm.
at least do that. Do you have any kind of like thought or ballpark about what it would cost either per field to level out? Or is it, you know?
Well,
I
I
mean,
can tell
Are we
you,
talking about $100,000 per field? You know, what are you talking about?
the bigger fields, and let me look here again. I think I've got an email or a text, if I can find it, I can never find it when I need it. Do you remember that number?
I don't.
Kleiningers gave us a number, just ballpark, and,
Yeah, he sent it to you, you told me that, I don't remember the number though. And obviously, those two are the big ones are the bigger dollars, obviously.
right,
For the bigger sizes, but
Would that be where you would start, the bigger fields?
yes.
that's where Little League wants us to start playing tournaments too, is on the bigger fields, the bigger kids. Yeah, so we want to start with those two first.
I don't see it right this moment.
Well, you'll have the numbers soon.
Yes, I will, and I'll forward those to you. Who would you, want me to send those to you? Jerry. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Anybody else have any questions?
No, but I have,
Anyway.
I have a statement.
Okay.
This park is primed for a master plan. We need somebody to take a close look at what's possible here. There are just so many moving pieces. There's ingress and egress, there's undeveloped land, there's need for a larger baseball field, and that's gotta get positioned into here. And we're just scratching the surface. I think somebody needs to be engaged to really look at what's possible here and put together a master plan. Otherwise, we may very well misstep here and make a mistake and regret that investment that we make. I think we gotta be more clear with all the things that you bring up, which I can appreciate and understand. We need somebody, a bona fide planner, to take a look at this park, and then we need to involve, obviously, the conversations with Cliffs, and even if the city would entertain the idea of making the entrance down there as an option, and if not, what is the right place, considering we're gonna put thousands of people in here on a weekend now. This is much different than this neighborhood park, sleepy little park it's been
Yeah.
in a long time. So that's my 2 cents.
One more thing with what Greg was talking about numbers, 350, 370 kids. Right now, what we're doing is we're playing Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. I heard you ask how many games we're playing. We schedule 2 games per team per week on Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. You play 2 of those 3 days. And we could potentially double and do Monday, Wednesday, Friday games as well, and play more games on Saturday. So potentially we could get up to 700-ish or so
Wow.
with 6 fields. That's what we see right now. Back in the day when when he was down there too at Smith Park, there was 1,000 kids playing down there. They were playing 2 games a night on every night every day down there, doubleheaders on, extra games on Saturdays and stuff like that. Are we gonna get to 1,000? Who knows what baseball's like in Middletown now? We started out 250, we're at 350 now after three, in our third year. Are we gonna get bigger than that? Who knows, where we're gonna end up. But if you end up playing, at least what we're doing now, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, that still gives us time for Monday, Wednesday, Friday to practice. If we continue to grow and then start playing more games on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, now we've lost our practice time. And now we're gonna start needing to start look at where else can we start having practices during the week when you're not playing games. Because for the kids to get better, games is one thing, but practice is a lot more than what they need. They need a lot of practice time. And, right now we have the ability in early, or late March and then early April until we start the games, every night we're practicing down there. But once we start the games, two nights and the weekends are basically locked out because of game times.
So Scott, what would be a next step to work towards getting a master plan done for Goldman? Like what?
Well, I mean, we'd have to, talk to a consultant.
Is that a real possibility, or?
Oh, yeah, I mean,
Write the check.
willing to help.
Yeah, well, I was just,
Yeah.
I just wasn't sure what the process was, that's what I was asking.
I would even entertain a motion to look to pay for that, park board. Would seem to me to be a worthy thing to pay for, to engage all the parties necessary to move forward with something like that. That seems to me to be a worthy thing for us to entertain paying for, if that makes sense. I mean, I'd sure hate to have money be the factor if we wait for a whole nother year before we even get to that.
Here's kind of the decision you're gonna have to make, not only as a board, but as a community as a whole, when you wanna involve consultants. They're like attorneys, and they'll drag this out. So I would ask in a way, hey, what are the things that we can do now to prepare for the immediate season coming up in a few months? And then what are some of the needs that
Sure.
could potentially be longer term, could be tweaked under, consultant's recommendation?
I think
So-
you can work together with all of those things, so,
Mhm.
like, fields aren't gonna change, that seems to me to be the number one priority of getting those done, and that's gonna have to be done whether you wait for 5 years or start today, unless you're gonna change all those fields that you have existing. But to look long-term would seem to me to be,
Mhm.
we're in a good position to do that with the option, with the extra land.
I know that there was a master plan or a diagram of this place, much different, that was supposed to change,
Mhm.
and, many years ago, wasn't it?
2018?
Well, in the Parks Master Plan, there's a
There's a plan.
very basic concept where you have a totally different layout. You have your classic cloverleaf layout with the hub in the middle, like you do at Leopards. So, which is certainly possible, but you're talking about wiping the slate clean.
Yeah.
And you're.
This park's
you're
gone
done
for a whole year
Yeah.
at least.
Right.
So,
So you have enough room to add another diamond up there?
I would think so.
I believe you do
I
up
would
on
think
top up
it's
there.
space there.
Not two.
And you would be hitting,
Well, that's somebody else.
The grade's
Oh, would
a
they-
problem.
You could.
Yeah, the grade, obviously,
It's
is
a,
an issue,
it's a
but.
pretty big slope.
It is a
Yeah,
slope.
big slow.
is there, we talked about 7 fields. Does that include the Challenger or the?
No.
So there's truly 8 then?
Yes.
Yes,
So we're not talking about maintaining 7?
yeah,
8.
yeah, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, this is. Oh, there we go. This is that little grass field where we're gonna put the
Okay.
4-year-olds, and then the Challenger is.
Right, so there's truly 8 fields.
There's actually 8 fields,
So we
yeah.
need to start talking about it
Yeah.
as 8 fields,
So that's,
current,
Yeah, that's that
already
little-
currently there.
right.
So it seems to me that maybe we could look to trying to do something towards those fields with looking at the big picture in addition to that.
Page
Of what could be.
133.
Right.
So I have just a couple of comments. Having dealt with a couple yards before and planting seed, you need to put your eyes on 2025 for these fields. Okay, I'm just telling you. temperatures will be there for a little bit, but even if you started cutting ground tomorrow, you're talking a huge amount of ground. You gotta get spread, gotta get moved, gotta get leveled, and then try and get seed to grow in. When you put your seed in, because if you're talking sod, then we need to have a really long talk. But if you're talking grass, I'm just telling you, you're late. It is what it is. So, with that said, does that mean everything else shuts down? No, not at all. You keep moving forward with a lot of these other projects that you want to go for, at least that's my opinion. As far as a master plan for this, you know, we spent a lot of money on this notebook that's in front of us. There are some ideas out there that are on that make sense. But if you notice, they immediately send you to having a clover leaf setup. Okay, that's what a new ball diamond, new area is going to have, right? And the concession's right in the middle. So, when you're having this discussion, where you want to go with this, you've got to keep some things kind of close. I get kind of the dreams out there, but just like, I don't know whoever said it, the place is going to get shut down. I would also think that any good contractor who you're working with or you're talking to has done these many, many times. So as far as a consultant goes, you have consultants out there that know these fields and know these layouts. I don't think it has to be scientific. I think you can find some good dirt guys or some good construction guys, some agronomists that know what's going on. They've seen the replica. Let's not reinvent the wheel. So I think that's available to you as well, if in fact that's the direction you guys want to go. With, you know, trying to hold money back, we've got, like I said, 28 parks that we're trying to get to. We've got 2 right now that are on fire, apparently, with people that, you know, we need to start looking at and spending money with them on. So we've got to kind of look at that. I think the other thing would be interesting is, when is your next Midway meeting?
We don't have one scheduled yet, but
Okay, well, can you just
Next
let us
couple
know
weeks.
if you have
Yeah,
one, and
yeah.
yes.
then we can, and I will have to say, we'll have to be careful, because 3 or more, then we're in the sunshine law, but one of us, or 2 of us would, I would think, would like to be it and represent, and to be there to listen, in case this, you know, gets going even more. Because all these things are great, but I think you try and do what you can, and I do honestly feel setting some timelines on some real achievable things is really important. But I would not be getting into, you know, you wanna cut ground, and you wanna let it lay, and you want it to, you know, the optimum thing to do is to get it cut and then let the weather settle it, which is what we got lucky with our playground equipment area up there.
Yeah.
Was it was very powdered up. Well, luckily Helena, for whatever it did, good wise, it woke lawns up, but it packed the soil, right? So, that's just my couple 2 cents, because I do it every day. I'm trying to get seed in the ground right now, and I'm telling people I'm not guaranteeing anything. So, with that said, you know, we appreciate the update. Do we have, are the bleachers out there?
We did get bleachers.
Are they out there?
Yeah, I don't know.
I think there's 4 new ones maybe.
They're out there, aren't
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
But we have them, correct?
There's some new.
There's some newer
3
ones that
levels.
are,
Okay.
Right.
The 3 high.
yeah.
Were the ones that were back on, are they gone? Or did you just move them somewhere else?
We
No,
didn't
they-
move them, so.
I mean, I would think, that the clubhouse is,
Sorry.
that's what I would be driving towards. And that's not to be up Scott's rear end about that it's not going fast enough, but the clubhouse, if there's anything that can be done in-house, and somebody knows how to use a hammer, then, you know, but that to me is great winter work. So that's, you know, keeping things moving.
Yeah, and you know, the clubhouse, like you're talking about the concession stand, we've been there 3 years, we've stayed out of it. We said, let's get baseball going
Right.
first. Now that softball's gone, and now that, Challenger, who has a nice concession stand down there, are looking like they're gonna be gone, and we're gonna be taking that over, or Rock is, or whoever is. We wanna at least try to see if we can get our concessions going this year and try to make some money through concessions. So, we really need to get that building up and going for next year.
Anybody else have any questions? Sorry, guys, I'm not trying to push you.
No, that's fine, that's fine.
But, no, you're happy to stay. We've just got a bunch of stuff on our table. But we appreciate you guys coming. And again, why don't you let us know on the next meeting? And I would encourage a meeting before the end of the year.
Oh, yeah,
Anyway,
we've got a bunch.
Yeah, because we're gonna start signing up stuff in November, so we'll have a meeting before that.
Great.
So in the next 2 or 3 weeks or so. Okay.
November's 2 weeks away.
Yeah.
So 2 to 4 weeks then, mid-November.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, guys.
What's your number?
Jerry, you gonna update us on the playground equipment?
Sure, so the install started, today.
3-1.
They brought it out for Goldman,
I'm gonna send you a text.
and they're getting it up. I just texted Jason to see estimated time frame it's gonna take. If you text me through the meeting tonight, I'll let you know. But how long did Sherman take? A week?
Yeah,
A week. So
for the playground stuff?
Yeah, so, I mean, the DuraPlay, the goal is to get that down as soon as possible before it gets any colder. So they're working it, and he has his best team out there doing it. So, he had a good team for Sherman, but he says this is his best team, so I anticipate it's gonna go quicker than, or as well, look at that, he texted me back. He said they should be wrapping up by Wednesday or Thursday. I talked to Charlie about it this morning, there will be plenty of time for him to get in there and do the drainage for the poured in place rubber. So, there's your update. That's awesome. So.
It looked nice today.
It did, I'm excited. So that's the update.
And the paving was nice.
Yes, it
The
It
is.
makes a
parking
big
lot.
difference, yeah.
Yeah.
It really does.
So really, concrete and a grill, and we're done at Sherman.
Yep.
Because they got lucky on the grass seed,
Yep.
which was really nice. That Charlie must have said a good prayer on that. That one came in nice.
Yeah.
I was really afraid for them to have nothing but mud or a mess. You know, we didn't get germination and we're going into the winter and it's gonna turn into a mud hole.
I think, the goal would be, to put a ribbon cutting date as November first. If everyone's good with that,
On Goldman,
on Sherman.
on Sherman.
That'll give them time to clean up everything, make sure it looks perfect, and do official ribbon cutting. I think it's a Friday. So like 3 o'clock. I mean, it'd be cool if kids were there, but what time do kids get out of school by? 4 o'clock?
They wouldn't get home till 4.
Yeah.
And sometimes they don't even get on the bus.
Elementary kids don't get out till, at least Middletown. We're almost 3:45 or 45.
So do you wanna say 4 o'clock? And it'd be one of those things where we do 4 o'clock at the end of the day
Well,
and invite the neighborhood?
you don't do it on a Saturday?
I mean, we could.
I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm
if you
not
wanna do it on a
split
Saturday?
hairs.
A Saturday's fine with me too. The 2nd?
I mean, it's a ribbon cutting. It's 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Not to be, but, and then if you wanna stay, you stay.
Yeah,
And then
okay.
if they wanna start cooking hot dogs, but I think you push it a little bit as the days get shorter on a weekday. That's
Yeah.
just my 2 cents.
Okay, so what time are you thinking on that Saturday?
Do 11 or noon.
Okay.
If we're gonna kill the day, let's do it right in the middle. Anything else for Sherman? Anything else on Goldman?
You had brought up something on a conversation about the basketball. You sent me a picture of the basketball hoops at Sherman. What were your thoughts on that?
So the south pole is bent, okay? It's not horrible. How it gets straightened, I have no idea. Because as soon as you start messing with it, then you could potentially, I mean, the entire pole is off, okay? I didn't broadcast it, I didn't put a note up to everybody, you know, I'm just
Were you out there dunking or something?
Just hanging on that rim,
I
Shaq.
did,
Please tell me there's video.
I
Hold
did,
on, I have
I did
video.
take some shots out there, and I was horrible. I did try and make some baskets. So that was the only thing. You know, again, as things get nicer, then the things that you didn't do, or the things that, then they all stand out, right? It just did, but you can't have everything, so that was my only comment. So,
So is that fixable? How do you fix it?
Steve, hook a strap up to your truck.
man,
Bend it
you
the other
know,
way?
in the old
Yeah.
days, I'd have no problems, but I'm not being responsible for that.
The paving is awesome on the alleyway. I drove through there today,
Mhm.
and I wondered, we talked at one time about parking there. Nice.
Yeah, that one, Scott, it's forward just a hair.
Oh, that's a new picture.
Oh, yeah,
Look at that.
August the 24th.
Go ahead, Jill.
I didn't know whether well, I have two things about the paving, which number one, it's awesome for that alleyway. But was parking out of the question for that alleyway?
I think because of time and because I put my 2 cents in, we have 2 streets right there, with parking available on the streets. So cutting back, because we would have had to cut the grass back towards the east, because everything else. So I just think for the time, and I think people will work it out. I am concerned though still a little bit on the new pathways. Like that car right there, parked right there, which could be.
Well, we talked about putting a
That's-
bollard.
And I
Yeah.
wondered about that.
Or
What, I
would we
thought
be
that
able
was
to get
gonna
those
go
in
away.
before ribbon cutting?
That driveway.
No, it's an approach to the to the playground.
We'll see.
Okay,
I'm
cause
not-
that's where everybody, all the
Mhm.
people said the cars were going up
What's your
there.
thought on that, Scott?
Well, just, actually, I think Charlie was gonna, he was saying put like post and cable all on the alley.
Okay.
But I don't know if that's gonna happen before November.
Oh, I get
2nd,
that.
But
We
we
get-
recognize that needs.
We get it. Yeah, but at the same
Right,
time.
so you can't do
I-
that.
I
Post
don't-
and cable, then maybe a bollard where the,
I mean, are we splitting hairs that if people, okay, so, do a close-up, Scott, would you please? So if you're going south of that path, okay, south of it, going towards those homes, I mean, if people just kind of pull up sideways onto the grass, are they breaking a law?
They are not happy. I can tell you the house at the far end doesn't like it, cause that's where, I'm just telling you, that's what they talked to me about.
I know, we're pleasing
like
everybody
law.
we can.
Because they park there. And
No, I'm talking
that's-
about parking in the grass,
To the
Oh, no.
left,
in the park.
yeah.
on
Okay,
the,
you're not talking about on the other side of it.
On the
east
park
side
grass.
of the.
Okay.
If there's a big issue, if the police are gonna show up, you're not supposed to be in the grass, blah, blah, blah.
Well, the one concern that one of the residents right there along the street talked about with that little driveway up there is that that's where people go and sit and have sex.
Oh,
Like underneath that tree.
Good to know.
That's, I don't know
I
whether
don't
that's.
know.
So there's always somebody pulled up there on a Saturday night or a
You're
Friday
gonna be
night.
cutting
at
it
2 in the
tonight.
morning. I don't know whether with the cameras there, this was before the cameras, I don't know whether that's made a difference or not.
I'm not going back on that.
Anything else on Sherman Park?
No. The shelter is up, they are pouring the cement, Wednesday, I believe.
It
It
looks
looks awesome,
nice.
it looks really awesome.
It really does look nice.
The picnic tables and stuff that are going to that are, gonna be assembled and put under it as well, so it'll look complete and ready for.
How many picnic tables are going in there?
4?
Is it 4?
I think it's 4.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, it's 4.
That'll be
There are
nice.
benches that are also gonna be
None
going
in the
around.
front part of it, right there.
There's 4 benches that are to go around the basketball court as well,
The, yeah.
to finish it off. But they were waiting until all that other stuff got done.
Anything else about Sherman Park?
Nope.
Douglas Park, update.
I'm gonna turn things over to the big man here.
Just take one, somebody might have to share, but I think there's 7. Take one of each, I'm sorry, pass it around.
I'm excited.
Might have to share those.
You want me to make more?
lot of detail there that,
I don't know. Everyone's gonna finish it. I'm not sure about that last page. I think I'm not sure.
don't worry about it. I can send this out electronically after the.
I'm good.
So for Douglas, we did engage a consultant to help us do some just preliminary conceptual, plans for it. If you look at the 11 by 17 sheets, so the first concept one, that's like a Cadillac, that's close to $1 million. So.
Probably not enough.
But you can see with the site plan, if you're familiar, assuming you're relatively familiar with the,
That would be taking out everything that's there.
yeah, so you can see on the left side, you're demoing the existing concrete, pad where the current splash pad is. And then you could go back with another shelter, like similar, like what's already there, but don't have to. So then you see the path off of that would go to the new splash pad. So you can see the features, and this is all up for consideration. We can change, we can swap out anything with this that we want, as far as like the actual toys and what have you. But just to show you, like, again, this is like, again, more like I said, the high end. I forget how many.
3.
5,000 square feet almost for the splash pad. So if you flip to the next page, you'll see concept 2, which you'll note on concept 2, they also showed replacing the playground here on the left side, which is still to be determined at this point. I know that playground out there is not that old, so this does show it, shows the access sort of wrapping around to Minnesota. Again, a smaller splash pad, that's about 3,800 square feet. And that was, here's extra copies.
642 for the splash pad.
Yes, now that includes
Go to the next page.
some of the other amenities. And then you'll see on that estimate, it shows the playground upgrade for 500,000.
Yep.
Almost, which isn't on the other cost estimates, but just to give you an idea, if you were gonna use some of the other options and include the playground, you're looking at another 500,000 roughly. So then, if you wanna flip over to concept 3, that's your least cost option. Obviously considerably smaller. This is more of a, we'll call it a spray ground where the water's just shooting up out of the ground. You don't necessarily have all the toys per se.
It's more like what we have now.
Yeah, I mean, size-wise, it's similar to what you have now, but there are mechanical toys with what's there. They're not working, a lot of them, but I'd say size-wise, that's most comparable to what we have now. And again, that's obviously the lowest cost option. Yeah, for that pad itself, that's 152,000 roughly. So I know we met internally about this a few weeks ago. I think as far as staff-wise, we were somewhere between 2 and 3, maybe something a little, maybe closer to 2, but not quite that much.
Yeah.
But I guess what the next steps are, we would engage, since the goal was to have this open at worst case, July 4th of 2025. We're gonna go ahead and engage with this consultant to put together construction plans and specs that we can put out for bidding. So,
Do we have an amount of money or budget expense report from what we have for this year?
Yeah, I think we provided what was left. Did
So
you
we don't
send
have a
that
current
out?
one for today with the current expenses that we've incurred so far?
Actually, I do have that by email. Cause that's what I sent you.
If we could have that at every meeting, that would be a great thing, to let us know where we are.
That's what
I think I know where we were at September 30th.
yeah.
What was that?
Well,
Today, I have, and this was as of like, probably just after September third, this included the seeding they did at Sherman.
Yeah.
9,040,587.76.
That's the email I forwarded you.
9 million.
900,000.
Julie.
I'm sorry,
please
did I
tell
say
me
9
the general
million?
entire-
$940,000.
That isn't, this is not the 2 million of ours. This is his, what he has left in his budget. Correct, Scott?
I guess I need to get clarification from that from the city manager.
But the number you're giving us is for your total.
Yes, is what we, I'm sorry, it's what we
That's
spent
okay.
on Smith Park bathrooms, Sherman Park, and Goldman Park to date. My
Yeah,
apologies.
cause I thought it was like just over $1 million left. currently.
Right,
Yeah.
you're right, it's just over $1,060,000 roughly
Yeah.
left. I mean, we're still gonna have some miscellaneous costs at probably Sherman, well, and Goldman.
Mhm.
Well, actually, yeah, depending on the building, that's probably another 100,000, plus the field leveling.
Yeah, Goldman's still gonna be,
Yeah.
I would
Work in
say,
progress.
priced at
Several hundred
700K.
thousand, yeah. Which, but that includes the playground equipment at Goldman, that number I gave you.
Okay,
Even though it's not all been installed and paid for yet, but that includes,
I thought I had forwarded you that email that he had sent me. Where he had put in typed it in the body of the email, those three
Right.
prices.
I just gave us amount for each
Did you?
park.
I
We
did.
can resend it out.
Yeah.
It's no problem. I had to pull it from multiple different.
okay,
finance
so that's this year's budget, where we are for this year, right, in financial.
Well, that's
statement.
where you're at overall, so
Yes,
of the
for this year.
2,940,000 has been spent to date.
It was like last month.
And that's not necessarily, I wouldn't say this year's budget, that 2 million was a one-time set aside.
But I didn't know whether it had to be, the way I was heard, it had to be spent by the end of the year.
No, this is all,
nobody ever said that.
yeah, this is, it's not part of
ARPA.
ARPA funding.
Money, right.
Now, what we are looking at doing with, since we're looking at budget right now, there's planned deficit spending, which I don't agree with the current way they're doing it. They're spending it on recurring costs, not capital improvements. So I'm concerned with year 2, year 3 on those reoccurring costs, how are we gonna continue to
Sure.
deficit spend? So, but we are looking at putting more money to this board. The exact dollar amount, I don't know, it could be 200 grand, could be 500 grand, I don't know. So, but this was a hot topic. The Douglas Park splash pad, I mean, obviously, there's still some unknowns with Douglas, Damon Park, I mean, we've got
Right, right.
quite a ways to go, so, that's something that we'll, tomorrow night, have another spirited discussion.
Scott, which one would you suggest?
Well, I think as a staff, we were looking something between 2 and 3.
Okay. So, Matt,
Closer
what
to
do you mean- what are you
2,
doing?
I mean,
I think
something in
3.
between.
Number 3.
Yeah.
Not 3 million.
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
That's okay, Matt, no,
Yeah.
Matt was doing this, and I didn't understand what he meant by that, so option 3.
Yeah.
My only issue with 3 is that it's very plain.
Right, I think we were gonna go somewhere in between.
In
It
between.
was staff's
Okay.
recommendation.
Okay, I'm just asking.
Yeah.
I mean, after all this and all the whiplashing you're getting on, I mean, you are coming to some conclusion, correct? In your mind?
One way or the other.
I know.
Yeah.
Because we had met, number 3 is pretty boring. And I think that we
Yeah, and
we
I.
can add some stuff to it
Right,
that.
it's almost,
Well, we have a new pool going in.
Number 3 is like what you would see at the green,
Yes.
correct.
you know?
Yes.
what I would do, my recommendation would be, hey, you know, Aquatics, B3, whatever, what do you have in the middle, like 300K?
Yeah, I think
Mhm.
that's,
Can we
Can we
that's.
put
where
like a
we-
limit on like
Like
that?
that.
Right, you
Yeah.
can give a dollar amount.
Because then you would still have you know, a splash pad concept, but then you would still have some sort of toy on there,
Right.
you know?
Does that include, like, do we have to like disassemble what we currently have, or is there a cost for that?
That's included, the demo of the existing,
It's all included.
If that's what you're asking, that has to come, but it is included in the price.
And the total?
Yeah,
That's what I was asking, if you went to Aquatix, does that include?
the demo and everything.
Yes, that's what I was saying, I didn't know whether.
well, whether it's
separate.
them, yeah, I mean, they're just a vendor, I mean, I don't know, yeah, but as far as which the pricing you have includes the demo, and actually includes, which we don't necessarily have to put back another shelter where the one is, if it gets into, you know, I don't know how much that is, if it's $20,000 or $25,000 just for that, we might say, hey, we'll just leave that a concrete slab, and we can always add something back in the future if we wanted to, if we wanna focus more money spent on the splash pad itself.
Cause you'll leave the concrete.
Actually, I think they'll have to dig up some of it. I think that includes digging up that whole concrete and replacing it.
I would think they'd have to start from scratch.
Yeah.
It's just my opinion. with
Well, yeah,
plumbing.
but going back, you would just pour a regular concrete slab.
I don't know whether that would grass over or what you would do with what had been there before.
I think it needs to be removed.
And then
For
grass would
safety-
be over
for
there, not
safety.
concrete.
Well, this shows concrete going back, but that's up for discussion.
So maybe I missed it, but what is the projected or anticipated funding source for this Douglas Park splash pad project?
I guess I need to get clarification on that.
It's probably gonna come from your funds.
Park board,
Yeah.
Yeah.
More to follow.
And what is your budget? Well, what number do we hold you to then, so that we know what we have available then to do the
That's-
things that we've been working on since, yeah.
After the last council meeting, I don't know if you watched it, but I basically told them they had to rework the whole budget because it's not feasible, the budget that was proposed overall. So I got a version 2, but I just got back into town, I gotta look at it tonight. So my idea was we can, yes, deficit spend a little bit on non-reoccurring costs, capital improvements, community reinvestment. You know, if they wanted to explore phase 3, homeowner repair program, things like that. When we look at, and what I call, in my opinion, massive hiring, that's a recurring cost, and so I'm concerned with, we're not growing our tax base at the rate that would be sustainable. So they're revising the budget, I have it sitting on my desk, so, because we have a few million that we could spend down and will spend down, but I think these things should be a priority all around. Public safety, this kind of stuff should be probably your priority. You know, there's just been so many things that have been deferred maintenance for years.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, until this year, we hadn't bought a police cruiser in 4 years. Until this year. That's crazy. We got 250,000 miles on the average Explorer here in town. So there's just so many other things, and with these things on the horizon, like I knew this was gonna be significantly expensive, you know. In my mind, I figured 300 to 500K. We still have Damon Park. Goldman still is gonna be a significant lift, you
well,
know.
there was talk the last month about what was sitting behind the building, Sunny Hill,
Mhm.
you know, that we needed to get involved in. That equipment, purchasing equipment for that too.
Well, I mean,
That's separate from.
yeah.
And I thought so too, because that's more
That's-
childcare, but that was brought to, we were discussing it.
That's
Yeah.
what Nathan had said to me, that he wanted me to meet with Verlena and stick around 80,000
So I mean, that's the thing, there's gonna be, it's gonna be tight overall, so that's why we're looking at putting more capital improvement funding into like the park board, for
That's
example.
why you go with mulch.
So,
This is, we're feeling it now.
yeah. My opinion, it should be 500K. If I could make the decision, it would be another 500K, then revisit it. Personally, for me, I think you add 500K right away when the budget's approved, and then you revisit it next fall when, like, the contractor season's over, and say, okay, where's, park board at, for example? So, that's when you revisit it and say, hey, we've got a little bit of funding freed up. I mean, technically speaking, the way the first version of the budget was written, you wouldn't spend down as quickly with personnel, because that's making the assumption that all the new jobs would be filled, right?
On day one.
January 1st, which wouldn't happen, so we wouldn't technically. But I'm looking more 2, 5 years out, 6 years out, things like that, because once, you don't wanna ever get in a scenario where there's an economic downturn and then you have to start trimming, so. And that's why I said in the meeting, I'm like, the people that we have to make sure that we can take care of, not only next year, but 5 years from now, 10 years from now, so. And the budgets that they have. Because that's the other thing a lot of people, I think, oftentimes will forget, is that every department, needs a budget, so it's not just the cost per person, it's, okay, like Jerry, for example, with her budget, adding more, we had a conversation the other day, adding a couple events next year. We'd like to see that, because everybody out in the community, what do they want? They want police, they want something to do in town, and they want their parks to be nice. I don't think that's unreasonable, so, but it's a delicate balance. I mean, you have to kind of fill each pot, but I'm uncomfortable with doing a massive onboarding of employees to spend into deficit. That's like buying a new car and financing it when you're getting laid off from work, so makes me a little nervous. But we'll know more after tomorrow night, so.
Any other questions for the splash pad, Douglas Park? Are you done, Scott? Good, just wanna make sure, you kinda got overall.
He's like, I am now.
I'm good. So you are informing us that we need to reserve for $500,000 for
Up
Douglas
to.
Park? Up to, okay, I mean, whatever
That's
it
half
is.
of what's left,
Okay.
essentially.
Well, but there may be additional funding.
Provided. Added
Oh.
to.
Well, we don't have that right now. so
Correct.
We're not
Right.
talking about that now.
Correct.
Right.
No,
We have to take it out of what we know we've got committed.
Yeah.
that's half.
Okay.
Doris, would you mind?
The river cleanup went really well. The good news is that there was less trash this year along the river than we've ever seen, so that was
Wow,
positive. We did get 23 bags of trash, but, we did get a lot of big stuff, tires and refrigerators and stuff, so that made us happy. Pilot Chemical will be out this Friday, and the only place I could find with enough work, because they send so many people and they work so hard, was back at Jacob to take care of that bed and put chips in the play toy and maybe paint some picnic tables if needed.
Wow.
And pick up trash. And to keep Middletown beautiful, we'll be buying the mulch for it, so that will be this Friday. And
Is it beneath them to trim the bushes around the building there? Is
Say
that-
Jacob?
well, we elected to give volunteers power equipment. Now, I can certainly bring my own hand trimmers and see if anybody wants to do it and guide them in any way. But I'm not so sure how overgrown they are, how much hand trimmers can do, but.
Yeah, it's not ideal for hand. It'll
Right.
take you a while, just get 19-inch batter, or a 19-inch cutter on a hedge trimmer.
Yeah. I don't know, do they make battery ones now? Might work. Is there electric? Can we plug
There
into
is.
electric?
Yeah, there's
On the
electric.
outside of the building? I have
No, but
electric
I'll
trimmers.
get you access to the inside so you can,
Well,
Get
let
electric.
me look at it and get with you, okay?
yeah.
I'll go look at it. And
Thank you.
they're gonna give us $5,000 as far as I know this year, and we're looking for a place to spend that. I asked Charlie and Ed, and they haven't came up with any ideas. You know me, I'm a big water bottle refill station. It costs about $6,000, but I think Middletown Beautiful can come up with the other $1,000 if we can get the city to install it. Maybe even there at Goldman where he was saying the water fountain wasn't any good and they needed one.
I am working
It's
on
not a
that
bad
grant
idea.
too.
Yeah. So, you know, and they like physical things where we can have a dedication and they did it, you know, and stuff. And we also have, the board has approved $1,000 for trees. If we want trees at Goldman, that would be a good idea. And finally, we have got into a couple other daycares this fall to go in and teach kids about not littering and so we'll be doing that
What day was that, Jay, go clean up?
Friday, the 18th, this Friday.
Oh. What time do you expect them to be there?
Well, it's a little chilly in the morning. Usually they go, like to start around 7 or 8. They really haven't got with me on that yet.
Let me know.
Okay.
I can meet you there.
Okay.
Or if I need to go buy something, let me know. I'll go buy some trimmers.
Go get your, you don't have hedge trimmers?
I have electric. Got 2 sets of electrics.
Yeah, I have a set of electric too.
Doris, thank you, as always. Your group is always making things better for the city, always. Great track record, and just always involved, seriously. Old business, the budget update, and I'm guessing this is what David put together as far as what we have spent and not spent. Am I correct in that?
Scott, okay, so this is a byproduct of a meeting that I had with Jerry and Scott about 3 weeks ago, which was extremely helpful to understand the city's general ledger system. And what I've basically done here is reposition some data from those systems that Scott shared with me to try and put it in a format that I knew that what you guys were looking for. And so I'll note a couple things. First of all, this is only for Park Board, and this is not an official city document, okay? This is
Right.
just
Us.
me trying to get to what we wanted to take a look at here. And if Scott continues to share this data with me, I can keep this updated on a regular basis. You'll notice in the top left-hand, or in the left-hand side, this is for 2024, ending September 30th. So whatever's been spent so far this month, I do not have a record of. If you look in the top right-hand corner, you'll look at the balance of $2 million, which we started with, and then the bathroom renovations at Smith Park, $246,750, leaving $1,753,000. And then within the body of this, you'll see that Sherman Park, all of the expenses associated with Sherman Park are detailed, and then all the expenses with Goldman are laid out separately, okay? So, but this data shows both what has actually been spent as well as what we have approved but not yet spent. All right? So if we go to the total on Sherman, I've got a number there that shows the net spend so far on Sherman, that's through September 30th, is $319,703. And if you took that $319,703 and subtracted it from the $1,753,250 that we had available for us to spend, that would result in that number to the far right of the last number there under Sherman is $1,433,000. So after we have a net spend at Sherman of $319,000, we got $1,433,000 still left out of that $1,753,000. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah.
You tracking me? Okay. And then at Goldman Park, the same thing. What has actually been spent, and then what have we encumbered is the word that the city uses. So you can see the big encumbrance there is to Schneider Recreation for the playground equipment for $368. So far we have spent $380, $239.12 at Goldman is the net spend. You take that off the $1,433,000 above and it tracks down. What we have available is very close to the number that Scott had previously talked about. We have $1,053,000. He was thinking it's just under $1 million. That's because there's $53,000 in expenses that have hit since September 30th. So as of September 30th, we had $1,053,000 still available to us for park projects. All right, makes sense? Anybody got any questions? Like I said, if you'll feed me this at the end of each month, I'd be happy to update it.
Now it's in this system, I mean, just,
Well, but the data isn't structured this way in
Yeah,
the system.
It's not.
I understand.
It's
But
crazy.
you've structured it.
Now it's structured,
Yeah,
yes.
no, it's very helpful, thank you.
Yeah, happy to do it. It's what we need to have visibility into. Yeah, and so basically what we have left is a little under 500,000 if we reserve for Douglas Park. So there's about $500,000 left. Right? Less than.
Except, that doesn't include, or does that include, the building at Goldman?
No.
There's nothing been reserved, encumbered here for the building. So.
It does not.
the
There've
building
been
would
a
come
couple
out-
small things, like we did some lighting and the doors, that's in here, but not the big costs for the building.
Yeah, you haven't, because you don't have a bona fide bid yet to be able to allocate towards it yet. So the building would have to come out of the.
And we never gave money, a list of up to, did we, for the building?
Mm-mm.
No, because we have not been presented anything to respond to react to.
Walking around, it was around 100 for the building, like a walking around, 100 to maybe 150.
Okay.
So, okay.
So if you read through this, you have any questions, just give me a call, text or email me.
Do we need to make a motion regarding Douglas, or is that just a done deal without the motion?
I don't think you're asking us to do anything, are you?
No, but this was information. As far as I'm concerned, I'm not gonna make a motion on anything.
Right.
This is information.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Dave.
Yep.
Number 2, DMI discussion among the board to give recommendations. This one, I will ask for a motion. So, I'm guessing everyone had a chance to digest the information from DMI from last meeting. At the same time, I encourage Jerry to she sent out an email to encourage everyone to go down to the park, at Smith Park, at least that's where they made their initial move to put this park. I'm guessing everyone did, so I'll just kind of open up the table. Anyone have any thoughts? Anyone have any discussions?
I think somebody had brought it up in the meeting when they were here giving their presentation across from where the original park already is. To me, was kind of the only place that wasn't, used by soccer fields or something for the rest of the year. That didn't seem like there was any other really spot for playground. To me, in my opinion.
Well, I went out and walked it, and it'll be hard to even see, where they wanna put it. So I drove by on the way here tonight, and then took a couple pictures, and you have the big play toy, then the splash pad, and then there's something else.
Swings.
Swings, and to me, that makes perfect sense to put it there. If it would fit and not be too close to the road, which I don't think that would be an issue. But I know they want to keep everything towards the canal house or for the canal house, house. But I mean, if everybody's willing to have them put a large toy there, I think that that's the only place for it.
Julie, any thoughts?
I drove it today too, and of course they have the, you know, Christmas stuff up. And, you know, kind of skews your idea of how much room is in each
Understand.
space. So I was thinking, and I drove in the little parking area, the little circle, and drove back there, and that's the first time I actually saw the sign, you know, that said historical. I'd never seen it before, because I don't look that way.
Mhm.
You're always drawn to the inside, and that's my fear about putting, and I understand why, and there's obviously tons of room over there, but you never look that way. So I'm with Matt in a sense that, you know, why wouldn't you keep all of your playground equipment, which essentially this is what it is, why wouldn't you keep it all together? That's my thought, and if there is room there, I'm sure you can turn it, you know, Snyder would figure out a way to turn that thing and fit it in there. So to me, it would seem to make more sense to put it there. I understand why they want it where they have it, but it just doesn't make
Well,
sense to me.
especially didn't they say that they were going to take the tree line and clean that up? I mean, with it being so close to the road, the
But
other
that's
side
down
is.
the road though, isn't it? That's not like
That's-
a.
No,
Me
no.
being a mom of a 2-year-old, it seems pretty dangerous to put a toy right next to a bridge
Right.
that goes out onto a main road
Right.
that people, you know, to me, that seems unsafe.
David?
I agree with the location. I don't really see that much synergy with the canal house, frankly. I think it's more important to have the synergy with the existing playground equipment versus where they're proposing it, which is 2 football fields away, line of sight from the existing equipment. It's 600 feet.
Yeah.
Well,
And
no,
that-
no,
that's-
for a mother of
that's
of
ridiculous.
a mother that has 2 or 3 children of different ages, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Where are you going?
Plus, there's trees in between there that block your vision, and if you can't have eyes on your kids all the time, I think that's an issue and a priority, right? So I think that they got the location wrong. It needs to be with the existing playground equipment. And before you even consider putting it there at the canal, near the Canal Museum in that space, we need to be talking, somebody needs to talk with Light Up, the Ohio Challenge and Soccer, who are constant users of that park, for how do they use that space for their activities,
Yeah, definitely.
right? What is the unintended consequence of the
Yeah.
decision of this
Golf
playground
course.
equipment sticking out of nowhere?
Seems to me to be more of an issue probably for Light Up, because they had a big piece of equipment right where we were talking about. When I looked today, there was something in that space where we think it should go.
And then the other thing I'll say with regards to funding, and you asked this question, you know, if they get turned down by Cliffs, what is our position on funding that equipment? I would say, I lean towards, look, we've already made a commitment to Goldman to put in similar type equipment that services handicapped children. That's where we've placed our bet and our priority. And I think because we've already made that commitment at Goldman Park, that's where we're going to have that type of equipment. And to duplicate it here, it would not seem to be a good use of city funds. All right, it wouldn't seem to be a good priority considering what we're being faced with now and the limited budget that we have. So I wouldn't duplicate that if we're already solving for it at Goldman Park. So I would not be interested in supporting that playground equipment funded through these dollars here.
So my 2 cents, it needs to stay, any additional equipment of that size needs to stay with existing equipment that's already there. That's my 2 cents. I would also agree that some protocol needs to be done with the other groups, the other user groups that are involved. I went ahead and I called Sam Ashworth, and here's what I'll say about this, and I just feel like it needs to be said. And this is to help the city a little bit. This thing of going for donations, grants, is all fine and dandy. But after talking with Mr. Ashworth, and I want to be very careful, because I told him, you know, this conversation but he was comfortable with what I would say, is that that for just this example with Cliffs, okay, we have two different individuals going after money potentially for really the same thing. And to me, from a professional standpoint, it just looks sloppy. I'm gonna go with the guy who knows the history, who's been doing this for decades. Sam has a very nice, simple plan that acknowledges it. I am not trying to beat up on this other group, but I do want, I would think that the city, for future relationships with these larger companies, might curtail these groups to be careful how often you're banging on their front door.
Yes.
Correct.
And that there is some semblance of, you know, that we're all on the same page. I've been doing this a long, long time, and, you know, my relationship with Duke and those guys was unbelievable. And every once in a while, someone would get over here and start chirping, and I would say, hey man, ease up, I've got them, okay, everything's good. Just wanted to put that on record. Whatever they wanna do is their deal, but to me, it looks a little unprofessional. But with that said, I would take a motion. The motion is that the park board is recommending that any new park equipment that would come from the DMI group would be positioned where existing equipment is in Smith Park.
Second.
And then I would offer any other discussion about it. Can we have a vote, please?
Steve Lewis?
Yes.
Matthew Armbruster?
Yes.
David Pierce?
Yes.
Daniel Woodward?
Yes.
Julie Kaufman?
Yes.
Thank you, guys. And thank you for going over there. I wanted to get an answer to them as quickly as possible. New business, Damon Park. Go through the list that Heather Gibson sent us.
I did print it up.
Thank you, because I'm lost on it.
This is a list that Deanna Shores actually emailed, but it was compiled with, it sounds like the community group that, and driven by Heather Gibson. This is just the list she sent of things they would like to see towards the improvement of Damon Park in the Amanda area. Expand basketball into 2 courts, renovate or replace. Lights and deep cleanup, remove graffiti and improve landscaping. Painted line games, hopscotch, Foursquare. Soccer field, clear out the field for baseball, softball, sponsor option. Skate park, sponsor option, Suncoast. So they are giving options of potential sponsorships. New swings, jungle gym equipment, completely replaced, 40+ years old. I'm not sure if that's accurate, but that's what they put. They'd like some grills, new picnic tables or garden seats, benches, surveillance cameras, community equipment program, maybe a voucher for churches or organizations for families to go get basketball, kickball, soccer balls. So that's their wish list. You know, I'd like to see, if we're gonna tackle any on that list, what your guys' recommendations are, if any.
So, in the back of my head, I was gonna potentially make a motion in this, in the sense of this. And we have always asked the neighborhood to stop in and talk to us. But after all the hoopla that went on with this thing, I'm gonna be very blunt about it. I mean, it was silliness that went on. But I had a chance to talk to Heather, and we had a very good, very constructive conversation. And I understood her frustration that 2 years ago, this went on. 2 councilmen went over, started discussions with that neighborhood, and I'm sorry, left them high and dry, in my opinion. Started conversations, and I don't know what promises were made, but once again, not communicating, here we are. So I asked, can we see the list? I don't think I necessarily need a motion for this, but does the board feel comfortable working off this list and not having the neighborhood come in? That's the first thing I would ask.
But doesn't really Heather represent the neighborhood?
That's how I'm looking at it.
Yeah.
But I wanna be clear, I'm the only one, I had a discussion with her, and I felt comfortable with that. And I don't wanna delay this any more than it needs to be, but I wanna make sure we set up some protocols. We were, 1 minute we weren't doing anything, the next minute we were given some money to do something. And I thought we set up a pretty good semblance of an order to hear about these parks. But I appreciate, and Scott had mentioned at the last meeting, they have a list, I'm fine with that. I just hadn't talked to anybody over there. All I'm hearing is a bunch of noise from different groups that they're unhappy. Well, Heather is beyond happy that we're just talking about it. So I think she will help represent the community, and I hear this term ambassadors all the time. Well, she's the ambassador over there in that neighborhood, in my opinion. But I wanna make sure everybody's comfortable with this. If we can bypass the neighborhood, that's one meeting down, we don't have to have them and then wait. Then what I might suggest is like we've done before. Some of the board, we take up some of these requests and we investigate them in order so that we're all involved and we're all looking at them, if that's the way we'd like to do it again. I don't know, a skate park, I don't know what that's gonna take to look into getting a bid and, but at the same time, I think we can kind of condense this and start hitting some of the hot spots pretty quickly. But it was nice having different people take on different parts of the park. I don't know how well it worked out, I don't know, you put a lot of time in, equipment, I understand that. But if we'd like to kind of break it up a little bit, great. If not, then we'll sit here as a group. We're gonna need some pricing, I'm guessing, right? But what will it take to just fix the first basketball court? That's kind of my first,
Yeah.
instead of expanding it to 2.
I have a question first. Is this the priority for where our next big project is gonna be? We're looking at, $500,000 for Douglas.
I hear you.
So I guess my question is, I don't remember us ever saying that this is our next big project and this is where we want to invest.
This has been told to me, beginning with the last city manager, that we need to get over there. We need to get over there and look at this.
So it needs to, that's our next priority.
So if we wanna talk about priorities, that's fine. But in the meantime, I would suggest that we try and do something over at Damon Park. Maybe not a full-blown makeover, please, Jerry.
I mean, just my 2 cents, for what it's worth. I feel like Damon Park is often forgotten about. And I do feel like this goes a long way that they have citizens come together and do this. I mean, yeah, it's done a little different than we've done it with other stuff, but I can appreciate that citizens are taking the initiative to create the list, and whether we do the whole list or not, I feel like it would speak volumes that we haven't forgotten about them over there. Just to touch on the list a little bit.
I'm not saying that we shouldn't make it a priority, but I'm saying I don't remember us ever saying it is. I've driven by a lot of.
Have it?
Right.
And
Well, I wouldn't say that. I feel like I have, I mean, that was at least 5 months ago. But I brought it up, that Damon Park was a hot spot. And it was brought up to me. But as far as a board making a decision, if it should or shouldn't be, somebody make a motion.
I think there's one thing you have to clarify though, so I would not use the term priority, I would do the next site location. Because right now, we know we have some pretty big priorities that haven't been taken care of yet, but the next site location, my personal take on it would be, yes, Damon Park, I would say probably.
So, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And I would look at the measure of what it's gonna take to change the park as well, right? And, like Gladell Park, huge amounts of vegetation, all these different, for Damon, it is right there. I understand, you just asked a basic question. But when deciding the next park, this thing's pretty close to the road. And there are some really quick changes that could happen to show them that we are listening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put my hand up and I'm gonna tell you right now, I've never seen one person using that park.
Damon?
Nope.
Yeah. I've been
The
going. over
whole
there
time
for
I've been
several
going over
years.
there for 30 years, I've never seen one person on that park, and I gotta put the footnote in there. I haven't.
So
I know they're using it.
for the last like 3 weeks, 4 weeks, I've been going over several times during the day. Morning, afternoon, evening, before dark. And I've been doing it through the week, but I've also been doing it on Saturday and Sundays. And I very rarely have seen anyone over there at all.
Which is a shame, because it's such a densely populated
Right.
area, because when I was thinking about, I mean, I drove by too, because I was thinking about what area do we really need to invest in next, you know, like, if you're looking at regions of our city, you know, where do we wanna spend money, because really, I mean, that's what we're looking at here, where do we wanna spend the money? Each park deserves it, there's not a question, they all deserve it, but where do we wanna invest? And I like the fact that when we looked at Sherman, it was in a neighborhood, highly populated neighborhood. And when you look at this one, it's the same thing, it's a highly but it scares me when you say is nobody using it because there's nothing cool there?
That's what
You
I was
know?
gonna say.
Is it
Well,
looking so bad?
there's also a great play toy at the elementary school.
Correct.
I was
And
just
I
gonna-
think the kids are
Correct.
going there.
I was just
Are
gonna
you talking
say
about over
that.
to Amanda?
Yeah.
Yeah, so,
But it's a little farther, you
no,
also,
it's not. You need to look at go look at a Google map, and you're gonna find out that half of that neighborhood, it's just equal distance from Damon as it is Amanda
Yep.
well, yeah,
School.
I guess.
Hold on, let me finish, please. When I looked at recommending, and I'm not against Damon Park in any way. Does it need investment? Absolutely.
Definitely.
But we got about 20 other parks that meet the same criteria that need investment. But when you look at that neighborhood, the playground equipment at Amanda rocks.
Yep.
It is the best school playground equipment in this community.
It's
Yes.
killer.
It is killer.
It is really
And
cool.
considering the fact that at least half of that neighborhood is equal distance to either Damon or Amanda, look on a map, you'll see it. The only issue is you gotta cross Oxford
That's my
State.
point.
Well, you gotta cross Oxford State Road, I get it. But I'm just saying, it is equal distance, and in most cases, parents are with kids when they go to playground areas, okay? So that's one of the reasons why we leaned into the location at Sherman, because there was nothing reasonably even close to Sherman that a family could go to and walk. In this case, there is an answer at Amanda, okay? So it is not like that neighborhood is totally deprived, but I agree 100% that that park deserves, all of our parks deserve investment.
So maybe that's our answer, with the Amanda Park, being such a great park, maybe that helps us prioritize what should be worked on at Damon. So maybe we look more at the basketball court, or we look more at investing in the grills, you know, those kind of things versus a
Picnic tables, yeah.
Yeah, that kind
Smaller
of
stuff.
stuff. Just throwing that out there.
So what I
think
might,
that's a good thought.
what I may make a suggestion is, and maybe I've seen this list, I apologize if I have, I don't remember seeing this, but I'm not,
Yeah, it was in the email.
it's all good, it's all good. What I might make a suggestion is that we take this home, we look at it. I've already made my top 5 on the side here of what I think should be done. What I would suggest is that we take it home, a little bit of homework, so we can, because this is new to everybody. But again, I'd like to stay on top of this to at least give the hood, hey, we're talking about this. And, you know, then there's nothing that can be said about that. And maybe you pick your top 5 out of this, and we come back in November and we talk about it and start throwing out, you know, what's this gonna cost, what's this gonna cost? And we break it down. Is that something that
Makes sense to me.
could be
Yeah,
handled?
I think that's a good idea.
Yep, sounds good.
Can you do one thing for me on this one too? Can you take a look at the trees, because honest to God, I
Pretty
think one
barren.
of the best things we ever did with Sherman, you know, when I'm driving by there,
Yep.
looking at all that.
Actually, we need to plant some. Hey, Scott, can I ask you, what is the building over there for? What is that building?
Is this Salvation Army or
that-
something?
What was it for?
Originally, I don't know off the top of my
Was
head.
it a church?
No, I think it was meant to be like Sunny Hill.
Yes.
In the sense of a
Okay.
neighborhood
Community center. or
Community
something,
center.
Yeah, yep.
Just sits empty.
So what's it being used for now?
Salvation Army
Well,
Site,
Salvation Army took
they
it. I don't
lease
know
it.
what, I kind of lost.
They lease
Where
it.
should you- Okay.
Storage,
So somebody's
They have-
running it.
They have
They have lunches there and.
lunches, but it's like, people that are trying to stay clean, so family support groups, those that have been staying clean, getting support, that kind of stuff.
Any other questions about Damon Park? Any,
Is the
Comment.
equipment really 40 years old? I mean, is that?
I don't know if we.
Looks as old as everybody else's.
about as old as
It's
Dave's.
all the
Yeah.
other cars.
Drive over there and
Yeah,
check it out
I
close.
wish.
That would be
Can
nice,
we
wouldn't
find
it?
Yeah, it would be.
I'd take 40.
I don't know if we have exact records.
God, I'd take 40.
It's old.
Okay. I'm gonna go back and
I'm
It
check.
sure
is,
it
it
is.
is.
It's the same as, I mean, if you go by any other one.
Whether it's
Yeah.
okay, is that good for Damon Park then?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, approval of August and September minutes, please. Turn to back. Take a quick look.
Yeah, I'll second that, or
Oh, so moved.
I had read them
Hold
before.
on.
I've read
Hold
some.
on.
She's, you sent them to us, didn't you?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I've already looked, because she sent them online.
So who motion?
I'll make a motion, or
That second.
I'm a second.
a motion to accept the August and September minutes of Park Board.
So
Second,
moved.
so move, second, third, fourth.
Vote there, Lewis.
C. Lewis,
Yes.
Matthew Armbruster.
Yes.
David Pierce.
Yes.
Danielle Woodward.
Yes.
Julie Coffin.
Yep.
Thank you. 5-minute comments, we'll start with Matthew.
Hey, I've been going around a lot of the parks as I do before the meeting, for several weeks, because I deliver a lot. And, man, Sunset is like tons, people use it
All the time.
constantly.
Yes.
All the time.
And especially the picnic.
All the time.
The picnic area, and, so that was good. And then I've been driving down by Sherman, and that's being used a lot, which is great to see. It's funny, you see a park closed sign, and then you see, 8 or 10 kids everywhere running around.
You're
It's
right.
great. It really is great, though.
Middletown.
But-
My favorite was the kids that were taking pictures next to the park closed sign, going
Yeah,
like that.
yeah. Were they going like that, or were they doing?
I don't know.
Yeah. But-
I was just laughing, I'm like, oh my gosh.
It's sort of like that, build it and they will come. And
Yeah.
when you do revitalize parks, people use them, and we're seeing that. Of course, Smith is always being used, but man, Sunset is unbelievable, just as many
The
people.
walking,
Yeah.
everybody's always walking
Yeah.
over there.
And if somebody wants to walk, that's a great place, or Jayco, but, I walk there, and it's an easy walk, it's nice.
Like on the
Safe.
beach.
That's all I gotta say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Julie?
I wanted to ask about the tree planting, if we were gonna get to that. I mean, Ally mentioned at the last meeting, and did we get to that? Are we gonna do it, or is it canned for this year?
So, it's likely not gonna happen this year because of, Ally's resigning from the city,
Okay.
probably here with next couple weeks, so I'm just saying right now, we're probably not gonna get to it this fall, so.
Is it out of the question for spring for next year?
No,
or is that-
not at all for
Or is
spring.
that a bad thing?
No, I
Then
think spring is fine, we do it a little early, people might be wanting to wear gloves, that's what I would encourage, we do it in the spring, but that's something, and I really hope, I caught wind a little bit of this, but I would like to try and help, and I thought I would reach out to Scott in Public Works, and if I can help fill in on a few spots, because I'd like to see it happen, at least some form of a tree.
You want a job, is that what you're saying?
Not
Hiring.
really, not really. Anything else, Julie?
No, that's it.
Daniel?
I wanted to say sorry that I was late for the meeting today, and, Charlie, I know he was probably, him and his guys were the ones that did it, but I had mentioned at Smith Park about the poles around they had been replaced, and it looks great. I just wanted to say thank you.
Good, thank you. David?
So I just want to mention, one of the things that I continue to believe about a number of our larger parks is how they drive economic development. into this city. They drive visitors into the city. They drive additional spending dollars in this city, and local groups that are behind having events and doing things that drive those visitors into town, they benefit. And I just want to point out a perfect example of that was, if you've been to Smith Park recently, you noticed that there was paving that occurred from the four-way stop when you go in to the left, all the way down to the restrooms was all paved. I don't think these groups necessarily want this, be publicly widely known, but it's a perfect example of the success that these events have and them giving back to our parks. In conjunction with the city, Light Up, Soccer, and the Ohio Challenge funded the asphalt, and then the city street guys, who did a marvelous job, they paved it and they manicured around the edges, and that looks, Scott, that looks just fantastic. And I told those guys that it looks really nice. But this is a perfect example of how our parks drive economic development activities into the city. We ultimately benefit because it didn't cost the city anything to have that repaved. And that's been going on for a number of years. So I just wanted to point that out.
Awesome.
I have a couple things. Number one, I can't say enough. Please, Scott, if you can, just tell all the guys. I mean, honestly, I've been stopping in all the time, talking to them. And, I mean, they seem enthusiastic as well. I'm not saying they aren't at any time, but I think they're just happy to see some things changing regardless of where it came from. So I appreciate that. Jerry, if you could please, I meant to say, could you reach out to DMI first thing tomorrow morning and just tell them what we discussed?
Sure.
I just wanna get it to them, and we pay attention. Thank you.
I will put it in an email and get you to make sure that
Thank
it's
you.
worded appropriately.
I got a phone call from John Ridge. It's not all of everybody knows him. John has quite a few things going on in town. His wife's a dermatologist here. And I was talking to John, and they live close to Gardner Park. I'll leave it at that. And of course, my wife works over at International Paper. She goes up and down Catalpa, so Gardner Park is kind of always out there. And this is down the road future, because John he can sometimes get his tentacles spread out all over the place and does a lot of different things. But I did talk to them, and Scott, this is a little bit towards you, about all the honeysuckle that's over there along the edge there. My wife is continually seeing people with sleeping bags. They're camping over there. I brought up to John that it had been said by a few staff members of Middletown that the citizens over there on Gardner Lane don't want any of that honeysuckle taken down. Well, there's quite a difference between the amount of honeysuckle on the fence and there is a chain link fence there, believe it or not. There's plenty of honeysuckle on their side. The side that's on the park could be taken out. John had no idea what was going on. He drove over there. He said, I cannot believe how much crap is inside this honeysuckle. I had no idea people were staying there and sleeping there. I just wanted to bring that up. We do have a dead tree there that's been there for some time. But what John did say, he goes, well, what's going on with the park? I said, well, I don't know. What do you want to have go on? Because that's the kind of guy he is. And I said, what about a pickleball court on that tennis court? He goes, what about it? How much does that cost? And John just seemed to be very enthusiastic. And it kind of goes to a bigger point, that these neighborhoods, like Heather Gibson, like John Ridge, if we reach out to these neighbors, you'd be amazed at what some of them are willing to invest into the parks.
Yeah.
Dave probably being the pioneer in the sense of really renovating a park and converting it over. So I don't know where that'll all go, but John was overly enthusiastic. I mean, he was ready to pay for everything, for whatever. My question is, can we, you guys that know pickleball better, I mean, can you do a combined
Yes.
tennis court, pickleball court?
Yes.
Can you do that? Okay. I didn't know how the net worked and if it needed to be higher, longer, bigger, whatever.
I don't know that, with the awesome awesome pickleball center we have
Yeah.
out where we have it. It doesn't need to be that fancy.
Well, okay, I get it.
So you can definitely.
Well,
make
to me,
what-
to me, right, to me, and John and I talked about this, is this like a practice? Or is
Sure.
this a learning, can someone give lessons? 'Cause
Yeah, absolutely.
I know the folks that own the Meadows over there, Ricky being a world-class table tennis player, he is now into pickleball, and he is absolutely talking it up. I mean, he is bringing people in from Mason, Cincinnati. The gal I talked to that gives lessons over there, I forget her name, she reached out to me. If it keeps expanding, they're looking at needing more courts,
Right.
the way this is going.
You can convert any tennis court.
So anyway, it was a good conversation. It was nice to hear that someone from the neighborhood and a taxpayer was also willing to drop a dime on his local park. So I think it's out there, and that we could be talking to some of the folks like you'd have on Sherman, right? You know, and some of these places where some of these folks might want to contribute a little bit.
It's
So-
an inexpensive fix too.
Yep. So I'll take a motion for adjournment, if that's it.
So moved.